All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into Hinduism. And
sounds good.
Yeah, we've got Devda Patnaik's Faith, 40 Insights into Hinduism. This book is going to kind of guide our conversation today.
Right.
And
looking forward to it.
What I find really interesting about Hinduism is that it's not like one set of beliefs. It's more like a journey, like with a ton of different paths.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes it so interesting. It's not about, following strict rules, but it's more about like constantly evolving your understanding of the world and your place in it.
Okay. So instead of like focusing on commandments or a specific set of beliefs, it's more about this personal growth and exploration.
Exactly, yeah. The book talks about the difference between Vedic values and universal values. And Vedic thought kind of encourages you to move beyond this survival of the fittest mindset and recognizing that everything's interconnected.
So it's less about like me versus them and more about understanding our shared humanity and our connection to something bigger.
Precisely. Yeah, it's a journey towards recognizing the divine within yourself and also in others.
Okay, that's deep.
Yeah.
And speaking of big questions, how does Hinduism tackle the creation of the universe thing?
So get ready for some serious creativity because Hinduism has multiple creation stories.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You've got like Brahma emerging from Vishnu's navel. You have the cosmic egg splitting open, and there's even the goddess as the source of all creation.
Wow. So they're really thinking outside the box with this. It's like they're saying, hey, there are many ways to understand the mystery of existence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These creation myths, they aren't meant to be like literal explanations. They're more symbolic representations of the universe's origins and that interconnection of life.
So it's more about the deeper meaning than the specific details.
Exactly.
Got it. So what about karma? Everyone seems to have a different idea of what that means.
Yeah, and it's often oversimplified in the West. It's not just about what goes around, comes around. The Gita emphasizes focusing on your actions rather than obsessing over the results.
So it's more about taking responsibility for what you do, rather than just waiting for good or bad things to happen to you.
Exactly. It's about understanding that your present is shaped by your past actions.
Okay.
And that your future is shaped by what you do today.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
It puts the power back in your hands. Now let's talk about the deities. Hinduism has so many gods and goddesses. It can be a bit overwhelming.
It's true, there's a whole pantheon. But remember, many Hindus see these deities as different aspects of one divine force. It's like different facets of a diamond, each reflecting a unique quality of the divine.
Okay, so they're not competing with each other. They're all part of the same divine whole.
Right. And what's really interesting is the prominence of the goddess Shakti.
Okay.
Even Shiva, the destroyer, is considered incomplete without her.
So it's not just a boys' club up there.
Right.
The feminine divine plays a pretty vital role.
Absolutely. This duality emphasizes the balance and the interconnectedness of masculine and feminine energies in the universe.
Now, what about all the rituals and symbolism in Hinduism? It seems to play such a big role in how people connect with their faith.
Yeah, you're right. Hindu rituals are designed to engage all of your senses.
Okay.
They're not just about intellectual understanding, but about experiencing the sacred directly.
So like lighting a lamp, for example.
Yeah.
Like more than just brightening a room.
Exactly. The flame represents knowledge, dispelling ignorance, and it also symbolizes the divine light within each of us.
It seems like everything has a deeper meaning, like a symbolic layer to it.
That's what makes it so rich and engaging.
Yeah.
These symbols help people connect with the divine on a personal and experiential level. Now let's address a topic that often causes confusion. Idol worship.
Yeah, a lot of people misunderstand that.
Yeah.
So is it really about worshiping the statue itself?
Not at all. The idol is like a focal point. It's a representation of the divine, but it's not the divine itself. Think of it like a window. You look through the window to see the landscape beyond it.
So the idol helps people focus their attention and devotion on the divine, but it's not the object of worship itself.
Precisely. The real worship lies in the devotion and the connection to something larger than yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. And this brings us to another important ritual, the thread ceremony.
Yes.
Is that something like a Hindu baptism or confirmation?
Not quite. The thread ceremony signifies entering the world of Vedic learning. It's about becoming twice born, first physically and then intellectually through knowledge.
So it's like a coming-of-age ritual that marks a commitment to learning and spiritual growth.
Exactly. It signifies a dedication to expanding the mind and seeking wisdom.
Okay. Speaking of powerful symbols, let's talk about the cow. Why is the cow so revered in Hinduism?
The cow represents nourishment life, even Mother Earth herself. It's a symbol of selfless giving and nurturing.
But isn't there controversy surrounding the cow as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's important to remember that Hinduism is incredibly diverse. Not everyone worships cows, and the idea of it being sacred has evolved over time, influenced by both cultural and political factors.
So it's not as simple as saying all Hindus worship cows. It's a complex issue with layers of cultural and historical significance. Speaking of cultural influences, let's talk about food.
Great segue. Food plays a significant role in many Hindu traditions.
So is everyone in Hinduism vegetarian? And what about this samosa I'm snacking on? Is that considered Vedic?
Good questions. Hinduism doesn't have one strict rule book when it comes to food. Vegetarianism is common in some communities, while others have meat-eating traditions.
So there's that diversity again.
Right.
And the samosa.
The samosa is a great example of how cultures blend. It combines influences from Central Asia and even the Portuguese who brought potatoes to India. It's a delicious fusion of flavors and history.
It sounds like a metaphor for Hinduism itself, a blend of ancient wisdom, diverse practices. That's a great way to put it.
Ongoing evolution.
And that takes us to the evolution of Hinduism and its interaction with other religions and cultures.
It seems like Hinduism has a long and complex history.
It does.
Where do we even begin?
One way to understand this evolution is to look at the difference between Vedic and Puranic Hinduism.
Okay.
The Vedic period, which is over 3,000 years old,
Wow.
predates Buddhism.
Okay.
Puranic Hinduism took shape around 2,000 years ago.
So Hinduism has been adapting and changing for thousands of years.
Absolutely. And it's interacted with various religions and cultures throughout its history. For example, Buddhism played a significant role in spreading monastic ideas throughout India.
Speaking of Buddhism, is Buddha considered an avatar of Vishnu in Hinduism?
That's a complex question.
Okay.
For Buddhists, Buddha is not an avatar of Vishnu. However, some Hindus might see him as one.
Okay.
This kind of reflects the nuanced relationship between these two traditions.
It sounds like there's a lot of fluidity and overlapping ideas.
There is.
In Eastern religions. That's right. And this fluidity extends to the interpretation of sacred texts. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Vedas.
Okay, the Vedas, what are they exactly?
The Vedas are a collection of ancient hymns and texts, considered the foundation of Hinduism. They were composed in the Indus Plains over 4,000 years ago.
Wow.
And later organized and compiled in the Gangetic Plains.
So they're like the bedrock of Hindu thought and practice.
You could say that they offer insights into the cosmology, the rituals, and the philosophy of the early Vedic period.
And what about the Tamil Veda?
Oh.
Is that a separate set of scriptures?
The term Tamil Veda usually refers to the Tirukkural, which is a collection of Tamil ethical and philosophical teachings. It's not part of the Vedic corpus, but it holds significant cultural and spiritual value in Tamil Nadu.
That speaks to the regional diversity.
It does.
Within Hinduism.
Precisely. Now, let's address another important text. The Manusmriti. It's often a source of controversy.
Why is that? What's so controversial about the Manusmriti?
The Manusmriti is a Dharma Shastra, which is a law book that lays out guidelines for social and personal conduct. It's become controversial for its verses on the caste system and social hierarchy.
So some people see it as promoting social inequality.
That's a common criticism. It's crucial to consider the historical context. The Manusmriti focuses on the duties of Brahmins and their relationship with kings.
It seems to reflect the social structure of its time.
Exactly. It doesn't address all of society, but it has become a focal point for discussions on social justice and equality in contemporary India.
It's a reminder that interpretations of ancient texts can be complex and often depend on the lens through which you're viewing them.
That's an important point. Now let's talk about a topic that's relevant to contemporary discussions on LGBTQ+ rights. What does the Manusmriti say about homosexuality?
That's a timely question.
It's important to understand that the concept of homosexuality being a sin, as seen in some Abrahamic traditions, is absent in Hinduism.
So how is it viewed?
Homosexuality is generally seen as part of karma, just like any other aspect of a person's life.
So it's not condemned or judged.
The Dharma Shastras, including the Manusmriti, have a relatively neutral stance on non-vaginal sex, which could include homosexual acts.
Interesting. And how does this relate to the recent decriminalization of homosexuality in India?
India's Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality in 2018,
Okay.
overturning a colonial-era law rooted in Abrahamic beliefs. This decision reflects a shift towards a more inclusive and tolerant understanding of sexuality within Indian society.
So there's a movement toward aligning legal frameworks with the broader principles of Hinduism.
You could say that. Now let's tackle another historically charged topic.
Okay.
The Aryan invasion theory.
Okay.
Is Hinduism an Aryan religion? The term Aryan itself carries a lot of baggage due to its association with Nazi ideology.
So we need to be careful about how we use that word.
Exactly. If we define Aryan as a linguistic group who spoke Proto-Indo-European and migrated to India around 4,000 years ago, then we can say that they contributed to the development of Hinduism, but it's not solely an Aryan religion.
It seems like the historical narrative is much more complex than a simple invasion.
Indeed, genetic studies have shown that there was significant mixing between the migrating populations and the indigenous people of the Indus Valley.
Okay.
It wasn't a case of one group dominating another.
It's more about cultural fusion and interaction.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this interaction continues throughout history.
Okay. Let's jump ahead to the arrival of Muslim invaders around 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
Did this destroy Hindu culture?
It's important to remember that invasions don't necessarily erase cultures. Instead, they often lead to cultural exchange and transformation.
So it's not a simple equation of destruction.
Not at all. The arrival of Islam in India led to the development of new artistic, architectural, and even culinary traditions.
It's another example of cultural fusion. Speaking of culinary traditions, let's end this segment with a fun question.
Okay.
Is the samosa Indian or Vedic?
The samosa we know today, filled with potatoes, is very much an Indian creation, blending influences from Central Asia, and even the Portuguese who introduced potatoes to India.
So it's a testament to India's long history of cultural exchange and culinary innovation.
Precisely.
Right, yeah.
That's a good place to pause, I think.
Yeah, we'll come back to this in a bit.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Sounds good. It really highlights how food, like religion, is constantly evolving and adapting.
Food for thought, literally. Going back to the arrival of Islam, it sounds like the interaction between Hinduism and Islam was more nuanced than just invasion and destruction.
Absolutely. Hinduism has always been incredibly adaptable. In fact, the arrival of Islam actually led to the formation of new Hindu sects and traditions. These groups sought to safeguard Hindu Dharma in the face of this new cultural influence.
So it was more about resilience and adaptation than simply being wiped out.
Precisely. The Bhakti movement, for instance, gained momentum during this period. It emphasized a personal and emotional connection with the divine, which resonated with many Hindus seeking solace and meaning in a changing world.
The Bhakti movement sounds almost like a spiritual revival. What kind of changes did it bring about?
You could say that. It emphasized devotion and love for a personal god, like Krishna or Rama, and it spread rapidly through poetry, music, and storytelling. It really shifted the focus to a more intimate and personal experience of faith.
It seems like Hinduism is more about experiencing faith than rigidly adhering to doctrines.
Exactly. And this emphasis on personal experience is reflected in the concept of the guru.
Okay, let's talk gurus. Are they like spiritual guides or teachers?
In essence, yes, but the role of the guru in Hinduism has evolved over time. In the Vedic period, the emphasis was on the rishi, the seer who observed the world and shared their wisdom through hymns and teachings.
So less about blind faith and more about seeking knowledge and insight from those who had a deep understanding of the world.
Precisely. But in later traditions, particularly with the rise of the Bhakti movement, the guru took on a more personal and devotional role, becoming a mediator between the devotee and the divine.
It's interesting how the role of the guru adapted to the changing spiritual needs of the time. So we've covered a lot of ground already. Creation myths, deities, karma rituals, the caste system, the role of the guru. What else is essential to understanding Hinduism?
One crucial aspect we haven't touched upon is the concept of dharma.
Okay, dharma. That's another word that gets thrown around a lot. What does it actually mean in the context of Hinduism?
Dharma is often translated as duty, righteousness, or cosmic order, but it's a multifaceted concept that encompasses much more. It's about living in alignment with your true nature and fulfilling your purpose in life.
So it's not just about following a set of rules like a cosmic to-do list.
Not exactly. Dharma is more about understanding your unique place in the universe and acting in a way that promotes harmony and balance. It's about recognizing your individual responsibilities and striving to live ethically and morally.
Sounds like a very holistic and individualized approach to ethics and morality. How does it tie in with other Hindu concepts like karma?
It's closely tied to the concept of karma. Your actions or karma influence your dharma and vice versa. It's a continuous cycle of action and consequence leading to spiritual growth and evolution.
So it's all interconnected. This makes me think about the whole oneness concept in Hinduism, the idea that everything is ultimately connected to a single divine source.
That's a fundamental principle in Hinduism, often referred to as Brahman.
Okay, Brahman. I'm still wrapping my head around some of this. Could you break it down for me?
Imagine the entire universe, everything that exists as a vast ocean. Okay. Brahman is the boundless, all-encompassing water of that ocean.
Okay.
And each individual soul or Atman is like a drop of water within that ocean.
So we're all part of this larger divine reality. We're all connected.
Exactly. And the goal of spiritual practice in Hinduism is to realize this connection, to merge the individual Atman with the universal Brahman. It's about transcending our limited sense of self and recognizing our inherent divinity.
It's about understanding that we're not separate from the divine, but a part of it. That's a beautiful and profound idea.
It is, and it's at the heart of much of Hindu philosophy and practice.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, there's one more important set of texts we need to discuss, the Upanishads.
The Upanishads, what role do they play in Hindu thought?
The Upanishads are a collection of philosophical texts that delve deeper into the nature of reality and the self. They explore the relationship between Brahman Atman and the concept of moksha, which is liberation from the cycle of birth and death.
So they're like a guide to understanding the ultimate nature of reality and achieving spiritual liberation?
Exactly. They're considered to be some of the most profound and influential texts in Hindu philosophy.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. It's clear that Hinduism is more than just a religion. It's a philosophy, a way of life, a rich tapestry of beliefs and practices woven together over thousands of years.
And that's just scratching the surface. What's so fascinating about Hinduism is its depth and complexity. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to discover.
That's what makes it so captivating. It's a lifelong journey of learning and growth. Speaking of captivating stories, we can't forget the epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata.
Ah, yes, the epics. They're not just great stories. They're filled with wisdom and insights into human nature, morality, and the struggle between good and evil.
So it's not all just dry philosophy and rituals. There's adventure and excitement too.
Of course. The epics are full of drama, romance, and even humor. They're a reflection of the full spectrum of human experience and offer valuable lessons on how to live a meaningful and fulfilling life.
I'm getting the sense that there's a lot more to Hinduism than most people realize. It's not just about rituals and deities. It's a vast and intricate system of beliefs, practices, and philosophies that have evolved over millennia.
Absolutely. And one final set of texts that adds to this richness are the Puranas.
The Puranas.
What do they tell us?
The Puranas are filled with myths and legends about the gods and goddesses.
Okay.
They offer insights into the nature of the divine and provide guidance on how to live a fulfilling and meaningful life.
It seems like Hindu scriptures offer a complete roadmap for spiritual growth and self-discovery. There's so much to learn and explore within this tradition.
You're right, and they're a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and transmitting wisdom and values across generations. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored the key concepts, the history, the rituals, the scriptures, and even the food. Where do we go from here? How can our listener take all of this and make it relevant to their own life?
Yeah, it feels like we've just scratched the surface, you know? But what a fascinating journey it's been. So where does this leave us? What's the takeaway for like someone who's just dipping their toes into this vast ocean that is Hinduism?
I think the journey continues. That's the beauty of Hinduism. It's not about reaching a final destination, but it's about that continuous process of, exploration, questioning, and evolving your understanding.
So it's not about finding all the answers, but it's about embracing those questions and that journey itself.
Exactly. And remember, Hinduism is incredibly diverse.
Right.
There are so many paths within this tradition. So don't be afraid to explore different perspectives and find what resonates with you personally.
It's about finding your own unique way to connect with the divine. Precisely. And don't be afraid to challenge assumptions and ask those difficult questions. Hinduism encourages critical thinking and self-reflection.
Yeah, that's what makes it so intellectually stimulating. So out of all the incredible insights we've uncovered today, What stands out to you as like the most important thing for our listener to remember?
I think the key takeaway is that Hinduism is not about rigid doctrines or blind faith. It's about embracing the complexity and the diversity of life, finding your own unique path to the divine, and recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
It's about recognizing that spark of divinity within yourself and in every living being.
Beautifully put.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the heart of Hinduism.
It has.
We've explored the key concepts, the history, the rituals, the scriptures, the food. It's been a whirlwind of knowledge and insight.
And it's just the beginning. I encourage everyone to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep delving deeper into this rich and fascinating tradition.
Exactly. Let this be a jumping-off point for your own journey of discovery. Who knows what amazing insights and transformative experiences await you?